Hi, hello, and welcome to the Fantasy Squad podcast brought to you by the Just Good Network. Oh, I am Jalen, joined here by Brandon and now Jasani.
What's up, Jasmine?
And
So
so, without further ado, let's bring you guys this hard hitting fantasy analysis. Starting with Brandon, just go ahead and jump into let's recap how some of your picks from last week played out. So, who are some of the names you brought up and how did they go?
Yeah, so I kind of split 1 for 1 in both my starts and sits. So my starts, I had Jalen Waddle. They had a pretty good week. It wasn't league winning by any means, but it was a pretty solid week. And then Mixon, who had he had a he had an okay week. He had like 14 points. I thought it was a smash play against the matchup that he had. But I'm not really going to give myself the credit for that start, even though he still had 14 points. It was just an okay week for him. Nothing too crazy though.
Yeah. I mean, definitely saved fantasy managers with that late touchdown run that he had.
Yeah.
But I think historically he hasn't performed too well against the Ravens, I think, in his career. I saw something like that. They usually bottle him up pretty well, but I'm also sure most of the times they play the Ravens, he doesn't get many carries because they're usually behind. So
Yeah.
And then Waddle, I mean, you're gonna start anyone who's playing against the top defense pretty much. I mean, all those games have turned into shootouts low key in all honesty, right? They've all been pretty high scoring affairs unless you started Jets players that 1 week. So yeah, I agree. They both gave solid, respectable performances. So
Yeah.
So, and what about you, Justani? How did your picks from last week do?
I did pretty well. One of my rights that I got right was Damien Harris. He rushed for 14 times for 106 yards and 2 touchdowns. He kind of had like a last minute garbage time touchdown that really put him over the top. But overall, he did really well against the Jets. The Jets are just awful, especially now with Zach Wilson hurt. The Patriots pretty much just had their way with the Jets. So that's kind of what I expected, and Damien Harris lived up to it. Another one was that I got right was Kyle Pitts. I think we're seeing the emergence of Kyle Pitts becoming the tight end one in fantasy. He has seven receptions for 163 yards, which is really good for even a wide receiver. And he's quote unquote a tight end. He completely just wreaked havoc on the Miami Dolphins defense, especially against their secondary. Didn't matter who they put on. Didn't matter who they put on him. He absolutely destroyed them. So I think Kyle Pitts is definitely the wide receiver one for their team right now. Matt Ryan has a strong connection with him, and look for Kyle Pitts to continue that.
Yeah, I mean, you saw against the Dolphins, they put Xavier Howard on him on the final drive, and Kyle Pitts still burned him over the top and mossed him with one hand. I mean, I saw something. He's on pace for like almost 1,300 yards now, and the Falcons didn't know how to use him until the past 2 weeks. Wow. I mean, this rookie class is looking incredible so far at almost every position, just about. I can't think of any of the guys so far who've been already labeled bust. It seems like so far every guy's been a stud, or you've just been like, nah, their team sucks. But Kyle Pitts is probably, I mean, outside of Travis Kelce moving forward, he's probably going to be the most consistent tight end, it looks like. I mean, we've seen that TJ Hawkinson can get focused by defenses. We've seen Darren Waller's targets have just dropped at each and every week for some reason. Kittle can't stay healthy. Mark Andrews is always going to be, I mean.
He's never really been that consistent.
Yeah. I mean, you recognize the Ravens are more than likely still a run-first team. So there's always the likelihood that he kind of will bust. And even in a competitive game, I mean, yeah, he has had some game-winning performances, but he hasn't been the most consistent performance. So I would lock in and load Kyle Pitts as the most safe tight end to start after Travis Kelce for the rest of the season, as of right now, at least.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, and so after that, we can go ahead and move on to disappointments from this past week. And so, Jasani, who are some players that you thought were lined up for a smash spot and they just did not deliver?
Let's see. One of the ones I got. I mean, I really thought Ryan Tannehill was going to do a little better the way he gave. He had 270 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. I mean, I knew they were a run first team, but especially with the game that played out, I thought, oh, Ryan Tannehill's about to go crazy. But I mean, he just had a very pedestrian game. So it's like if Ryan Tannehill can't really do well against the Chiefs, I don't really see him ever really having one of those QB1 type of games. I mean, like he did solid. Obviously, if you start him, you're not mad about it. But I think a lot of people were looking for a lot more. And another one that's on the same team that I knew he wasn't going to do well was Julio Jones. He only had 2 receptions for 38 yards. I mean, I don't know what's really up with Julio now. Maybe he's getting old. Maybe they just don't really know how to use Julio. It's been a huge disappointment this season. I just don't see it ever changing.
Yeah, no, I kind of had some guys that I was talking about or that I wrote down just to bring up. And one of the names was Julio. I mean, I don't know if it's a lack of the fact that he doesn't practice much, right? Or if it's just the fact that he's the wide receiver 2 on a first team. But yeah, he's definitely hasn't been. I think the one game he had over 100 yards was the Seattle game. Seattle's defense is one of the worst in the league, so that's not really saying too much. Now, I will say, speaking of Ryan Tannehill, he did have a touchdown pass vultured by Derrick Henry. They're trying to make sure that Derrick wins that MVP. So
yeah, the little shovel pass he did.
oh, and B-Dubs is back. That was another name that I wrote down as one of my guys that was a disappointment too. Was Darrell Henderson. I thought that the Lions were gonna. I thought the Rams were just gonna come out and smoke the Lions, and that Darrell Henderson was set up in a smash spot, and it didn't really go that way. I mean, credit to the Lions; they fought as hard as they possibly could have to win that game. They just got talent diff. That's all it is.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it was definitely like you could definitely tell Jared Goff really wanted to win that game, but I mean, just the talent about him just didn't allow that.
You saw it on the final play. Aaron Donald comes up the middle, so Jared Goff fires the ball and it gets picked off by Jalen Ramsey. It's just what are you supposed to do about that?
Classic.
And so then, go ahead into some of your disappointments from the past week, Brandon.
Yeah, so going off what B-Dubs has said in the comments, Darrell Henderson was also one of my biggest disappointments. I mean, juicy matchup, Lions, 15 carries, and he only sees 45 yards. Very sad, not what you want to see. Another big RB disappointment that I had is Aaron Jones against the Washington football team. Washington football team has been awful this year, hasn't been able to stop really anything, either in the air or on the ground. And you're expecting a massive game from Aaron Jones here, and he only saw 6 carries. And he had, I don't even know how many yards he had, maybe like 15 yards. I don't know. But luckily, he did get 6 receptions, or 5 receptions. So if you have him in a PPR league, you did get salvaged by those PPR points. But if you're not in a PPR league, or if you didn't happen to get 5 receptions, his 8 points would be probably 1 or 2 points. So just a big L from that game. And then going into next week, just continuing on the Aaron Jones train. I mean, his next matchup is not the best matchup. I believe it's the Cardinals. They don't take too kindly to running backs on that defense, and they're not going to be. They're going to be without probably the wide receiver 1 and wide receiver 2 in their team. So it'll be interesting to see how Aaron Jones can bounce back next week. I'm not thinking. I mean, he will be the only guy there on offense for Rodgers to throw to. It'll be him and Tunyon. I'm not sure if I'm really calling for a bounce back game, but we will see. I thought he was a massive disappointment this week, though.
another little interesting thing to talk about Aaron Jones is J.J. Watt has been ruled out for tomorrow's game already as well.
Okay.
I don't know exactly what the nature of his injury is. They said he played through it on Sunday. I guess
injury.
Yeah, he had to make sure he got his revenge against the Texans, and now they're like, all right, you can sit
now.
So maybe that
more
helps
important
open things up for Aaron Jones, but yeah, that's just a little side note.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, the all Green Bay is going to have is Tunyon and Aaron Jones, and Cardinals are actually pretty solid at guarding both of those positions. So it'll be interesting to see how Green Bay is able to overcome their woes this week.
Is Valdez-Scantling playing?
I think so. I don't know if you really want to charge up the
That's one of those deep dart throws, you know.
I don't know.
Randall Cobb.
I guess. You really play with fire, though.
Talk about boy Marty Rogers, man. You really want to get
Hey, look, this is his chance to break out. If he has the breakout game, you know he's going to be that waiver wire pickup of the week.
I'm saying. All you got to do is just earn Aaron Rodgers' trust once.
Okay, and so then, yeah, you kind of started, going into our next segment. So you could keep the ball rolling. Who are some of the guys that you're looking to start for this upcoming week?
Let's see. Starters.
I guess I can jump in. One of my starters for this week is Michael Pittman, actually. Carson Wentz has been playing very well so far, which is kind of surprising. I never really thought Carson Wentz was good. But, I mean, he played really well against San Francisco in that downpour rain. So Michael Pittman was his main target. He's his wide receiver one of that team. T.R. Hilton is just old. Pittman finished like with 4 receptions. I know he only had 4 receptions, but he still had 105 yards and a touchdown. So he's one of the big play type guys. He could definitely attack in the middle and short. I definitely think Carson Wentz likes Pittman a lot for some reason, even though he stole his number. But I definitely think Pittman's the wide receiver one, so I think he should definitely be a start next week. We're playing against next week, the Colts?
They're playing against the Titans.
Oh yeah,
he definitely has a juicy matchup coming up next week.
Easy money,
and it should be a competitive game. Now it's crazy to me that we've already, this is week 8, and this is our final matchup against the Colts of the season, which is like kind of big because they're the only other team in that division that can compete with us for the title. So I think it's crazy that those 2 matchups are already just about over when everyone knew. You would have expected like the second match would be a little later in the season, but hey, we got to play Wentz on 2 sprained ankles. I'm not too mad.
It's crazy that they're their biggest competition.
yeah. But yeah, I agree. I mean, it should be a competitive game. Pittman should see the targets. Titans' pass defense has been a little better this year, but it's still a completely exploitable matchup unless you're the Chiefs, I guess.
I think Pittman has launched himself into the comfortable flex every single week type player, maybe even with wide receiver 2 upside. So I think you could comfortably kind of pump out Pittman as you need him, or with good matchups. And I think this week is a perfect example of both. So I agree with you.
And my next start would have to be a boy T. Higgins. I know he's the wide receiver 2 of the team, but he still had 15 targets last week against Baltimore, which I think is insane. He only caught 7 of them, so he only caught half of them for over 62 yards. So he had a pretty pedestrian game last week, but I mean those 15 targets, that's something you can really hang your hat on. Mm-hmm. He's the wide receiver 2 of their team. He then play against the Jets next week, so I think that should be an easy smoke. So yeah, I think the pecking order goes Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, then Tyler Boyd. So I definitely think T. Higgins should definitely get a lot of targets next week, along with Jamar Chase against the Jets.
Yeah. So the interesting tidbit I saw is that T actually he leads the Bengals in target share percentage when he plays. I think when he plays, he sees like 26% of the targets or something crazy like that.
It's
But
so
yeah,
cool, man.
but he just hasn't had that like crazy game that you were expecting from him with seeing that kind of target share in that offense. And so it's bound to happen eventually. Why not against the Jets?
Yeah. I mean, I
Also,
think it's also kind of hard just because T's not like a explosive athlete, really. Like he's not like he doesn't run like a 4-4 or anything like that. But he's 6'4", 6'5", got great hands, could jump. So it's like I think he gets a lot of those like just lob type
He
throws
gets the
or like
50-50 balls.
yeah. So and then Jamar gets those deep throws. So I definitely think it's gonna be hard for him to. Unless I mean, if he caught all those targets, they would have probably had over 100 yards easy. So then that would have been one of those good games. But he only caught half, which I mean makes sense if he's getting those 50-50 balls.
Yeah. I also think it is fair for us to say before this week, I thought this was a matchup dependent player, but it's fair to say that he has moved into must start, never question territory, and that's Jamar Chase, right?
Yeah.
yeah, probably.
Yeah, I was starting him since week 2.
Yeah, I was thinking, he's going to be kind of matchup dependent, but the talent is there. He's just a rookie. But no, I think it's fair to say that he's moved into must start, set him and forget him in your lineup every single week territory.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine you have two other options that are better than him on your team.
He is officially graduated.
Kind of going off of that game that Jasani's just talking about, but in the other direction, because my only reservation on T having a good game is that their competition is the Jets with Joe Flacco at QB. This game could get really out of hand real quick, and then they don't even need to throw. Because, I mean, Joe Burrow loves to throw. The Bengals love to throw. But, I mean, against the Jets in this game, I don't know. You might see a lot of Samjay P. Ryan in this game because it's just so out of hand. I mean, last week the Patriots just played the Jets, and I mean the Patriots' whole offense had a career day. Even Mac Jones had like 25 points. So like they did get it done in the air, but I mean last week the Patriots had 3 running backs finish in the top 25. This is 3 running backs and none of them are named Ramondre Stevenson. This is Brandon Bolden and J.J. Taylor and Damon Harris all finishing like as top 30 running backs on the week. And that's something you never see or hear of against in the Patriots backfield. And I think that's only possible when you're going against competition like the Jets. So with that being said, my big start of the week is going to be Joe Mixon against the Jets. I think Samjay P. Ryan will see some work in this game, and I think it will get out of hand real quick. And I think they will just run it down the throats. The Jets have not been able to stop a single soul at running back. And they've been okay against wide receivers because teams have not been able to or have not needed to really pass on the Jets. So I think in this situation, if Mixon gets going and they could just kind of run on this team, I think they might take that opportunity and then even have Sanjay come in for a little bit and siphon, maybe finish off the game there. So I'm going for the running backs in this game as well. I guess start all Bengals players in this matchup. It's the Jets, so you really can't go wrong.
I mean, Jamar can get 200 off 8 catches. He could get 120 off of 4 against the against the Jets, right?
Yeah,
I will say. So they traded for Flacco. They traded for Flacco to be the backup. The guy who came in last week, Mike White, is going to be the starting quarterback moving forward.
That's just as juicy, bro. That's just as juicy.
I think terrible. I think it's worse, if you ask me.
He was bad. He was definitely.
You might as well put Flacco out there. He at least has pedigree, right? He has a recognizable name.
He played for them last year. I mean, he's more experienced on this Jets team.
Why does Flacco just retire? I guess
he's getting bags thrown at him, man. I wouldn't retire either. No one expects him to win a damn game. They expect him to go out there and then lose. And he's getting paid millions.
He just got money to get out of Philadelphia and go to New York. That's all. And not play.
Just to move and show up to practice.
He probably still had the lease on the last place he was living at there. Ooh, we have a question from Damien. How will Barkley, Javonte, Jacobs, Hunt, AB, and M. Thomas do for the rest of the season? So here we can each pick a name. Who wants to go first? Just pick a name from that list, and we'll.
I'll start with Javonte. I'm going to go with he's going to have a really solid second half of season. I think rookie running backs usually tend to get better as the season goes on. And Javonte Williams is in that situation. So far, he's been really good with the carries he's had, and he's had basically exactly half of the carries. It's split right down the middle. And I think as maybe not in the immediate future, but as we get to later to the last third of the season, maybe we might see Javonte's carries go up. And he's been super efficient with those carries. The offense is good, and he's been seeing around 5 targets a game. So I think Javonte's in for a very solid second season and an even brighter future as well.
I'll go with Josh Jacobs. I think he's super touchdown dependent. I don't think he's necessarily start him, plug him, just forget him. The Raiders offense had kind of been at a standstill lately, especially the run game. Mm-hmm. And Josh Jacobs is definitely suffering from it. Like last week, he only had 6 attempts for 29 yards, but his day was saved by a touchdown. So he's kind of moving to that James Conner role where like he's only viable because he's getting those red zone touchdowns. So I mean, I think Josh Jacobs is a flex play at this point. I don't necessarily consider him. Definitely don't consider him RB1. Maybe low in RB2 at his best at this point. I just don't really see it getting better. He's still dealing with injuries, and now they have a new head coach, obviously. So I just don't think it's a good time for Josh Jacobs.
Yeah. So I'll start with Javon. I'm just gonna kind of like go off what y'all said before I go to my go to one of the players. But like, yeah, I think if Javonte can ever start getting 70 to like 80% of the snaps on the Broncos, he moves into immediate like set him and forget him territory. Because I mean, right now you can start him and you'll get okay numbers if you're really struggling at running back, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, if he can just take over that backfield, then I think everyone sees it. I think the Broncos are starting to see it too, that he is better than Melvin. Melvin's not bad, but Javonte is just easily more talented and is able to do more. And yeah, speaking on Josh Jacobs, I mean, he was dominating the workload until John Gruden got fired, and now they've been using Kenyon a lot more recently, which, I mean, I think he was the highest paid backup running back in football, so they should have been using him more. But now Kenyon Drake has become a part of the offense, which was what people were scared of was going to happen during the offseason, and that was why Josh Jacobs' draft spot plummeted in fantasy football. And nobody thought it would happen this way because Gruden was going to be misogynistic and racist and homophobic, but that's the way it goes. And so the player I'll talk about is Michael Thomas. The Saints' passing game to their wide receivers is probably the worst in the league right now. They have nobody I mean, Marquez Callaway was a big breakout. He hasn't done anything. Traquan Smith came back in his first game, and he's already getting yelled at by Jameis because he keeps messing things up. I think that when Michael Thomas gets back, he immediately is commanding a very heavy workload in that offense. It's all about him being healthy and actually being able to withstand that workload. I think once he gets there, because New Orleans is throwing the ball the least in the league right now, way below league average. And I think the next closest team throws the ball like 4 percentage points more. So they are by far leading the league in how run heavy they've been. And I mean, you just see Alvin Kamara was the first player in the past 2 seasons, I think they said, to have a game of 20 plus attempts and 10 targets. And so if their running back is also their wide receiver 1, I mean, that's going to have to change, I think, for the Saints to be successful against real competition. Yeah. And so I think Michael Thomas, when he gets back, he's going to – I think the first game back, you could probably plug him into your lineup as a flex. I'm sure at this point you'll have guys that you're more comfortable starting. But the moment he gets back, I would test it out, in all honesty.
All right. I guess the next name I could bring up is Kareem Hunt. Yeah. I mean, when he gets back from injury, I think he's another guy that you could probably safely trust if he is fully healthy. I think once he's back, it'll just be back to status quo. Chubb and Kareem will both be have to be in your lineup, and I think they'll just be splitting carries there, and they will be fine. I don't really see anything that indicates that Hunt has to have any setbacks and delayed his comeback in any way. I don't think Dearness Johnson will be, I don't think he'll make it a three-headed horse in this backfield by any means. I think Dearness Johnson will fill in for Hunt pretty well while Hunt is still on IR. But once Hunt comes back, I think he'll get his job pretty much immediately back. I mean, he's getting paid way too much money for them not to give him the job back. So I have high hopes for Hunt when he does return as well.
Yeah, and the last name I'll do is Antonio Brown. I think Antonio Brown and Mike Evans are turning to the Kareem and Nick Chubb situation. You kind of have to start them both just because they can both pop off, or one can and one not the other. But I think more likely AB will, just because he draws in the number 3 corner almost every week. And AB is still, he's still one of the best receivers. It's just a matter of if he can stay healthy. And Tom Brady loves AB. So I definitely think you kind of have to start them both, or else you risk on missing points.
Yeah. And the Bucs offense is going crazy right now. So you might as well just get any piece you can of it. And their defense is not stopping anybody. So Tom Brady loves it. He's going to be just throwing around touchdowns left and right. So
would you
can't be mad.
Would you trust starting Gronk in his first game back as your tight end one?
I mean, who are your other options? If you've just been having him on your bench and you've just been starting Tunyon every single week, then you might as well throw in Gronkowski at this point. You're hoping for the same amount. Yeah, exactly. But if you've had a solid option that you've been plugging in, like if you had a Pitts and Gronkowski was your number 2, and then now Pitts is now your 1, I don't think you're gonna really have any reason to take out your true tight end 1. But I'd probably start him over most dudes. Would you start him over TJ Hawkinson? No? Would you start him over I can't really think of the middling
Mark
guys.
Andrews.
No.
Not
Mark Andrews.
I agree. Okay, and so then we'll try to get through these last couple of names fast.
We talked about Chase and Higgins.
Yeah,
we think they have very bright outlook in the future. We're all in on the Bengals offense right now.
Yeah. And then with DeAndre Swift, I mean, he's the Lions' number 1 receiver and the number 1 running back. Mm-hmm. If you have him in a PPR league, he's a set and forget each and every week. The Lions are going to be playing from behind every single week, except I will say, I think this next upcoming game might be a trap game for DeAndre Swift.
Who they got?
They're playing the Eagles, so it might actually be competitive, and he might not see as many targets. I think this might be the game. I think this might be the game where the Lions get their first win.
Oh, you hate the Eagles,
they're probably the most unfun team to watch.
It's just watching Jalen Hurts just run around.
Is Jalen Hurts stealing the ball from Miles Sanders, missing guys who are open, and then rushing it in the fourth quarter for 2 touchdowns?
Man, Miles Sanders. What an L to have that guy on your team, right?
Is Miles Sanders in the running for disappointment of the year, not due to injury?
100%. I don't know who else you could really slot in front of him. Maybe because he was still a round 3 pick. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, everyone was thinking that with Jalen Hurts being the full-time running back, no.
He is the full-time running back. You said that right.
With the Jalen Hurts being the full-time quarterback, you're like, they got to just go to a run-first offense, right? But no, it's screens and Jalen Hurts carries. I mean,
and last year, in the 2 or 3 games that Hurts played in, Miles Sanders had awesome games. So you're kind of the sample size is small, but I think he could have an awesome year. He's just been butt.
Yeah, I think that this coach is going to get fired by the end of this season. I saw in his recent press conference, he was like, yeah, we're not winning, but I want y'all to think about the team like this. This is a plant. He was like, in the last meeting, I put up a picture of a plant. And, the flower isn't blooming yet, but the roots are growing in the soil. I was like, oh, I know the players stopped listening to you when they saw a picture of a plant on the screen.
Head coach is not going to last longer than 2 years.
And then with Saquon, I think that as long as Saquon is playing and is fully healthy, he will put up numbers. The Giants' offense actually is looking better and better to me. I know I was expecting Daniel Jones to be a turnover-prone machine who couldn't move the ball because his O-line was bad. But I think each and every week, there are options on that team, and they've progressed, right? The Panthers had one of the better defenses in football. Maybe that comes from the fact that they played a cupcake schedule the first 3 weeks. But even then, their defensive numbers have been solid all around, except for I think there was one game where in fantasy they got like -4 points, but every other week they were almost double digits.
Yeah,
And
the
so I think
Cowboys.
that game. And so I think as long as Saquon's playing and is fully healthy, I mean, you shouldn't really be worried about him. You definitely want to have Devontae Booker on your team because this man is injury prone, though.
Yeah, I would be looking to trade him if I can. I mean, he still has the name value of an RB1, and I think most people would consider him to be an RB1. And I just don't know if he's going to have that kind of consistent value for you for the rest of the year. I mean, I'm just kind of falling off the Barkley train. So I personally would be trying to trade him, but only for an RB1 value. I wouldn't be looking to sell him low by any means. If you could unload him, I'd be looking to get maybe a more solid running back. But
would you consider Aaron Jones a more solid running back?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think I would. Mm-hmm. What about Kadarius Toney coming from Brandon Cruz?
I mean,
KT.
There's so many mouths to feed in that offense. That's the only thing.
Yeah, but let's say they're all healthy.
Then I think he falls out of rotation, really. Well,
you think he's out of rotation?
I think he step up above Darius Slayton.
Yeah.
Darius just been there longer, so they might get phased out, but I definitely think he's better than Darius at this point. He got the targets. By now I think it'd be like Kenny and Kadarius. And if the rumors are true, I heard Evan Ingram, they're trying to trade him. So if he's gone. I don't know who would take him, but
I've heard teams are interested in him, and I'm just like, who would trade for Evan Ingram?
Because you see the speed, man. Talent.
He's had the most opportunity on the most failures on him. Like he's had the most drops, and yet he sees the same opportunity. He still fails every time he has the big opportunity. Everyone's hurt on his team. He doesn't come through. He's never been a blocking tight end. He's only ever been a receiving tight end, and he's just never been.
Every other coach is like, yeah, but Joe Judge just doesn't know how to use him.
Well, fix him.
I can use him.
Good. Evan Ingram or Dawson Knox is what we all thought Evan Ingram would eventually be. He somehow
Dawson Knox, yeah.
The fast tight end that somehow just now he has hands. Evan Ingram, it just never came together somehow.
Man, one day. Like Ben Simmons, man.
Oh, Jasani, can you pronounce your name for Damien?
Jasani. It's like the water bottle, Jasani, but with a J. It's the best I can give you.
J sound.
Jasani.
Okay, and so then
you guys want to talk about Watson and the possible trade news?
So this was actually something I put on the doc. I wanted to ask y'all about. Mm-hmm. If you're in a redraft league and you've been struggling with quarterbacks all season, Roger Goodell came out and said that there is nothing that is stopping Deshaun Watson from playing. Mm-hmm. They don't have the information to put him on the commissioner's exempt list, whether he's on the Texans or if he gets traded. So in theory, he could be playing. Does that, if you're a team that's been struggling with quarterback all year, do you pick him up?
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely say you definitely take the risk, but I mean, I want to start in first week, obviously. I think there's so many waiver wire quarterbacks that are still out there right now that you could put in that would do better right now for Deshaun. But once Deshaun gets acclimated to whatever offense he's in, which I don't think will take long, then I definitely would start him. The only problem is if something comes out and then the commissioner puts him on an exempt list, or it just might not be consistent. That's the thing. And then I heard the Dolphins one trade for him, but we're waiting for his the ruling or something like that. I was you're not going to find that out by next week.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
said that their condition is they need more clarification on what's happening with this case, which they won't get by the trade
Yeah.
deadline. That's just not possible. And they want to know if he's going to be on the exempt list, which is something that Goodell has said no, technically, but
No,
let's say, but the way the Dolphins need this to go is that if they want him to settle this case, then he has to settle, and if he settles, then he's quote unquote admitting guilt, which would then give him probable cause to be put on the exempt list. So it's like the Dolphins are kind of putting themselves in a weird situation by like demanding this, because it's like if you want him to settle by November 2nd, then he's probably going to be put on the exempt list because now he's admitting to doing these crimes, right? So it's like, what a weird situation. So I personally, like, in a redraft league, if you have a spot that's just a throwaway spot, fine, like take the shot, and you really need a QB, it's fine. But if I wouldn't force it, unfortunately.
You wouldn't be putting in a waiver claim for him.
Yeah, I wouldn't be putting him at the top of my list or anything, or I wouldn't be dropping anyone that I thought I potentially even needed. Like, no, I wouldn't be doing that because there's just so many variables.
And Deshaun always said that he's not going to settle because he doesn't want to.
Yeah, he's not going to admit any guilt. So it's like I don't know how this at all works out in the next 5 days.
I think Miami has put themselves in a very bad position, whether they pull the trade off or not. Mm-hmm. I also think that with what Goodell said, the NFL cares about the bottom line, and the bottom line is money. I am willing to bet money that if Deshaun Watson gets traded to the Dolphins and the Dolphins try to play him immediately, there will be such a big backlash and uproar about the whole situation. I could see them end up putting him on the commissioner's list. If they trade him and they're like, yeah, he's just going to play. You're opening up the worms on that one.
It is Miami, though.
all they see is letters W and L.
Yeah, but you got to remember, Deshaun in Houston, how many games did he win the last year he played? And is he going to a better team? Is he going? That's the new real question.
I like to think he is.
They're completely born of talent.
They have the same amount of wins.
Yeah, I think that's so.
Yeah. That's an interesting thing. And so we can go ahead and go into. We talked about starts, right? Or did we talk about sits for this upcoming week? Okay, so who are some of your? We can go into starts for the upcoming week, and then we'll answer Damien asking about Cook, Ridley, and D. Johnson.
No, we started about some stuff. I talked about one of my starts.
Yeah. We talked about starts.
Okay, so then we can go into sits then, if you guys have some names y'all want to say. We start with you, Brandon, or yeah.
Yeah, I'll start with Gibby versus Denver. I mean, the last 2 weeks, if you've been listening to our podcast, you would have heard us kind of not be too excited about Gibby's outlook for the future and of this season. He's dealing with the fractured shin bone, which I can't imagine would heal very fast. And then on top of that, he has a calf injury, which you can only imagine that they are related in some way or another. And then coming into this week, I mean, the last 2 weeks with these questionable injuries that have popped up, he has seen his performance has seen quite a big dip, and also his carries have seen quite a big dip. I mean, they've been using J.D. McKissic a lot, and they're using the tight end a lot. He's not seeing any passing work by any means. And then on top of that, he has Denver for a matchup, which is not a great matchup for running backs or really any offensive weapons, but especially running backs. So I'm not excited to be starting him this week. If I have to, fine, but I really would be looking to start a lot of other options over Gibby. I'm kind of putting him in the RB3 to just bench him at this point until that Q goes away, until he starts seeing more volume. Those are two things I'd like to see, and the fact that he's attached to this Washington offense it's not a very high scoring opportunity for a running back. He's not going to be seeing that many goal line work on this offense, unfortunately. So I'll be looking to bench Gibby wherever I can.
Yeah, I mean, I think Gibby will never be what we want him to be until they get rid of J.D. McKissic and upgrade the quarterback situation pretty much,
Yeah.
I think he's always going to be a heavy volume dependent RB2, right? So
yeah, and even volume dependent is definitely a big factor. In the last 2 weeks, he's seen about 10 carries, which is not the volume you need
for that, and with 15 catches over 2 games,
Yeah, exactly. And a team that's in the red zone like once or twice a game. So it's like there's not a lot of value there.
The offense is bad. The defense is letting up 1 million points, so they can't even run it even if they wanted to.
Do you think things get better for Gibson if Ryan Fitzpatrick comes back?
No, I don't see that improving his situation at all. I mean, Heineke hasn't necessarily been the issue here. I really think it's just a Gibby thing. Like he's injured. He has his shin is fractured, and he's not getting 15 to 20 carries a game. And I don't know what gets him up there unless they go to their bye week and he gets 2 weeks off. I don't know.
I think they're at the point they need to sit him down for a little bit.
They do. I agree.
If they're too scared to give him carries because he could just get more hurt, then
yeah, what are you doing? You're just playing a limited player.
So then we can go to you, Jasani. Who's the sit that you have?
One of my sits is Kenneth Gainwell. I'm just not a fan of any Eagles running backs. I know they're playing against Detroit, and Miles Sanders is hurt, but I'm just so off of Eagles offensive players unless it's Jalen Hurts for fantasy. Last week he rushed 5 times for 120 yards. What saved him was him having 42 yards worth of receptions and a touchdown. That's the reason why they saved him. But I mean, I just don't see any consistent play for Kenneth Gainwell. And I just don't think the Eagles are necessarily a good offensive team. I think their team runs through Jalen Hurts, which is not necessarily a good thing. I think the only viable fantasy option is Jalen Hurts and only Jalen Hurts.
No. I think even last week, once Miles Sanders got hurt, Kenneth Gainwell got out carried by Boston Scott.
Yeah.
And so you're banking on the fact that Gainwell will get targets, but like Jalen Hurts doesn't throw checkdowns either. So it's just like, and so
why check it down when you could just run it?
Yeah. And so Juan asked the question,
dreaded question.
David Johnson over Miles Sanders rest of season standard. At first, when he said D Johnson over Miles Sanders, I was like, that better not be David.
But the sad thing is,
Joe, I thought we was talking about
might be taking David.
Nah. I think in standard, I'll take Miles. It's close.
I don't know.
It's close. But
I don't know. There has to be another option out there, Juan. There has to be.
Why is David Johnson in the roster?
They just fantasy relevant news. The Texans just traded Mark Ingram to the Saints.
He's back on the Saints?
Yeah, he's back on the
Saints.
What? But he was probably their leading rusher so far this season, right?
At least in attempts, 100%. He definitely saw the most attempts.
That definitely just opens up.
I'm locking in David Johnson over Miles Sanders. Dude, Miles Sanders is hot garbage, man. And sometimes he sees like 5 carries.
Yeah, but it sucks because you watch him and he gets those 5 carries. He takes them for like 40 yards, and then they're like, stop giving him the ball.
Get in. I honestly, I probably am wrong. It feels like I'm saying the wrong answer by saying David Johnson, but I think I'm thinking David Johnson over Miles Sanders the rest of the season.
I'm gonna say you gotta have better option than those two, man.
There has to be. There has to be. I agree. Would you rather Brandon Bolden or those two guys?
Those two, man.
All right, Mike Davis or those two.
I'm not taking Mike Davis.
Dude, Mike Davis at least was consistent until the last game. Yeah, I really thought he was talking about Dearness Johnson.
I was thinking.
I would take Dearness Johnson over those two guys. Come on.
I was thinking he was talking about Deontay, and I was like, "Is this a question?"
So yeah, I mean, my vote is
find another guy, Juan. Or package both of those guys up and get like Damien Harris. I think you can.
There's no way you're getting Damien for those two garbage kids.
I'll say it this way: David has the higher floor, I think, but Miles Sanders, the ceiling is way higher. It's just the fact of the matter
Sometimes,
is
yeah.
they might get the same amount of carries each week, and that's
What about this? Teddy Bridgewater, Sam Darnold. I personally am 100% going to say Teddy Bridgewater, no questions asked. Especially this week. I'm pretty sure they have a pretty juicy matchup too.
Yeah, they play against Washington.
Oh yeah. Run up the Teddy Bridgewater. Sam Darnold just got benched last week playing like Sam Darnold.
He's playing against Atlanta though.
He's playing against Atlanta and he got benched for playing like Sam Darnold. I think
Darnold. He played against Giants last week. He's playing against Atlanta this week.
Unless CMC's back, I'm not firing up Sam Darnold. The only games that Sam Darnold has been great this year in fantasy has been the games that he's played with CMC. If you look at the last three games that he happened to play without CMC,
he's playing worse
DJ Moore, Sam Darnold, the whole team has played awful, and they've lost every single one of those games. They're on a 3 losing streak, and they haven't had CMC for 3 games. So if CMC's not there, I'm not starting Sam Darnold at all. I mean, DJ Moore could still be in your lineup, but I mean, even his numbers have seen a massive dip with CMC out, which is not really what you expect. You'd think he'd get more catches and stuff, but the whole offense has just died. And Sam Darnold is on that shit.
He's the captain of the ship.
He's the captain.
I agree. But I would. I don't know. I've never been. I don't know. I just don't like Teddy for some reason.
I would put him in over Sam Darnold though, for sure. He hasn't been bad at all.
Yeah, this is Atlanta, bro. This is a division game. You kind of
have Washington football team.
Yeah,
I'll say this
that's Broncos.
I could see the Washington football team struggling against the Broncos, making it to where the Broncos, Teddy can play his safe game manager style. I just assume that Falcons-Panthers should be a shootout. Like,
I'm not.
Okay, I'll say this way. If Sam Darnold can't put up more than 20 points against the Falcons offense, he should never be seeing a starting lineup in fantasy again.
Yeah, dude. Tua just carved up the Falcons defense, man. He's about to get traded.
Yeah, Tua's about to get traded for a rapist, bro. Like, come on.
He top sick though. I'm off Sam Darnold. I mean, just the last 3 games I've seen of him have just all been piss poor. So I would go Teddy Bridgewater, but
I don't know. Just from what I saw last week against the Browns and Case Keenum, man, Teddy was so unimpressive.
The Washington football teams. I mean, but he still had an okay week. He didn't get benched.
Yeah, I mean, he only had 17 points.
I would take that over my QB getting benched in the 3rd quarter. You're like, wait, holy shit, who's playing now? It's not Sam.
Yeah, but all right, what else he gets benched for 2 weeks in a row?
With how PJ Walker looked when he stepped in, he should never be seeing the field again.
Yeah, PJ Walker looked awful, but you know PJ Walker is only on the team because Marvel is the coaching. That's the only reason why he's on the team.
Yeah, no, that was honestly. There got to be other quarterbacks. Is Daniel Jones available? Like, I put Daniel. I put Tua in against the Bills before I put those 2 in. No, that's kind of.
No, I would say my vote's Sam, just because division game. It's Atlanta. You just got benched. You kind of have to bounce back. You know, Teddy just plays that safe game, man. I don't understand what I like it. He plays that safe game and still throws pigs. I don't even know how that's possible.
Hey, but is he getting Judy back?
Yes, Judy is expected to play this week.
I think that's a good indicator, a good swing in his direction, but we'll see.
Hey, yeah, I think this is a make or break game for Sam Darnold. You know, they say pressure either makes diamonds or it bursts pipes.
Yeah, man. If Sam Darnold does try again, they might just sweep right under that Deshaun Watson. So
if history has taught us anything about Sam Darnold, it's pressure and Sam Darnold. There's not a good
He's a pipe. He's a pipe.
He's a pipe. You ain't no damn diamond. More wide receiver sits that I wanted to bring up is both Bears wide receivers. I think we could stop playing the fun game of should we start A-Rob or can we flex Mooney? I think we could just go ahead and say, no, let's just not do that anymore. Let's not go down that trail anymore because that is just painful to watch. It's painful for everyone to watch. I think the only assets you can start with the Bears is, I mean, you can start the defense in a matchup, fine, but it's pretty much the running backs. That's pretty much it. Khalil Herbert looks pretty good. David Montgomery still got a couple weeks till he returns. Khalil Herbert looks like a very solid replacement, and I think who's the other guy that's coming back?
Damien Williams.
Damien Williams should be back from COVID, but it seems like from the sources I've been reading that the performance that Khalil Herbert just put on kind of probably excelled him in front of Damien Williams' role. So there's a good chance that he will probably be the lead back coming in this next week with Damien Williams as probably taking some work. I mean, he's not going to be phased out of the game by anyways, but he's probably going to be the RB2. So, benching all Bears receiving options. They all need to not be played until we see something different happen here, which I'm not seeing.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it's just clear obvious that Justin Fields is not ready to be started yet. I definitely think he needs more time to develop. I think he still had a lot of things to clean up even when he was coming out of college.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of stuff wasn't pretty, like his accuracy stuff. And I definitely think he relies too much on his legs. Which is fair because his O-line is awful, so he's always running, and he doesn't get his head taken off. But I think he's panicking a lot. He looks a little, not a little lost. He looks very lost. He looks like deers in headlights, just throwing it up. That game against the Bucks was just ugly. I don't think any rookie quarterback would have played. Maybe Zach Wilson would have played as bad as he did. Right now it's looking like Matt Jones is the best, and then I would say Trevor.
Yeah, I feel like the Bears. Obviously, me and Jasani were hanging out with our Bears friend Mike this past weekend. I feel like they kind of have absolutely failed Justin Fields right now. I mean, they don't call plays to his strengths. Their best O-lineman is a 39-year-old Jason Peters, who they called while he was fishing in retirement before the season started. I think they're about to put Khalil Mack on IR, so even their best player on their team is about to go down. I don't know what happened. This looked like a roster that was on the come up 2 or 3 years ago. Mm-hmm. That looked like they were a quarterback away from being able to compete. And even this past week, Allen Robinson threw the coaches under the bus because he was like, everyone wants to say me and Justin Fields aren't connecting. We got no reps together during the preseason. He was like, me and Justin Fields 0 first-team reps. So this is since he's been playing, the first time we've been catching together. It's like, man.
Yeah, I definitely think that the Matt Nagy and the GM Ryan Pace are it's definitely last year, man. I just don't see how you bring them back. Like you failed on all accounts. Like for one, you got peer pressure by the fans to start Justin Fields. I ain't never seen coach do that. Like you should have stuck with your guns and kept Andy if you knew Justin Fields wasn't ready. Like we were just assuming that Justin Fields was just miles ahead of Andy Dalton. But if you're in practice and you know that's not true, why'd you even still put him out there?
Well, Andy did get hurt, but
it's not like he looked good when he started when Andy looked hurt anyways. And didn't he say Andy was our starter before and once he comes back he'll be our starter again?
Yeah.
I think I don't know. It's one of those things. I'm of the camp, right? If you have a rookie quarterback, if your team can't win a Super Bowl, you might as well just let the rookie play it out. But with Justin Fields is different because I think he's going to get killed playing behind that O-line.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about too, right? The Bucs secondary was probably one of the bottom 3 unit in football,
like 29th.
And he just made them look like the steel curtain defense. I mean,
but every snap he has to run. he snaps the ball, and if he doesn't run, he's getting blindside nailed. If he does run, he has to run for his life because he's going to get sacked. He does have a problem, it seems, to understand where the pressure is coming from because he does allow for those pressures to happen, and it seems like he had, no idea that they were blitzing from that side. But I mean, that's what you expect from a rookie. And the fact that he's in this situation with seemingly no help from the coaching staff to get him any type of protection or even call a game plan that's suited for his play style, that's like another problem. Like the plays that they've been calling is like, what? Who do they think is throwing the ball here? So
it's scary because I think that off of right now, I think Justin Fields has been the worst rookie quarterback.
Oh yeah, easily.
Like I would say even Davis has been better than Justin Fields so far.
Yeah. I mean, Davis had more games.
Yeah, it's like it doesn't mean much because it's like, but like he's had games where you saw it. Right now with Justin Fields, we haven't seen anything yet. But I think it's also more dependent upon the situation. Is the situation in Houston better than the situation in Chicago? That's a scary thought.
Nah, man.
They didn't have a first-round pick for this upcoming draft either. But yeah,
Evan has some waiver QBs for us that I guess he could choose over Teddy or Sam. Would you guys take Tua, Taylor Heineke, Jared Goff, Baker, or Mac Jones over Teddy or Sam? I honestly would stick to Teddy or Sam over those guys, I think. But
hey, you might as well pull the trigger on Tua. They're going to have to throw the ball.
Yeah, but the Bills might just stuff all that.
Bills aren't that good. They're fool's gold.
They're pretty good against the
No, I'm kidding. They knocked Tua out the game last time, man. They're going to try to.
They're going to try to kill him again.
I
don't know if I start Heineke.
I would personally say, like, this might be a sleeper, but I would also say Matt Jones. Like, Matt Jones has been looking better every week.
Yeah.
He looks out of all his quarterbacks. Well, he looks the most command in that offense. And I mean, I think the Chargers, like, you're gonna have to throw it against them. Yeah, I think it should be a high score unless you're just getting absolutely blown out.
Yeah, I think you're right on the money. Of those names that he added, I think Mac Jones would be the only other guy I'd consider. But I think I would take Sam and Teddy over Mac Jones still because they have the matchups. Mac Jones, like the Chargers matchup, isn't the best. But Mac Jones, I mean, Hunter Henry's kind of like a locked-in touchdown each week. So, yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, I would definitely say cross out Jared Goff and Baker. Baker's hurt. Jared Goff is Jared Goff.
Yeah.
Taylor Heineke.
It's not a good matchup. Denver's pretty solid defense. I wouldn't.
I mean, they were solid, but then what's his name? Von Miller just went down last game.
They did just lose. It's like they did just lose to a backup quarterback, backup running backs, backup O-line, backup receivers.
And
then Ray Gamer for kickers. Those kickers you mentioned above, I would just take a Nick Folk. I mean, he's kind of the most. He's probably. I think he's the number one fantasy kicker in the year.
The Patriots are like the least aggressive team in the NFL.
Yeah,
going for fourth downs. That's the only thing you really have to worry about with kickers is like how often do the coaches like to go for it on fourth. I think I even saw it's like this year Bill has been way less likely to go for it on fourth down than like ever in his entire head coaching career.
This is probably the most conservative offense we've seen from the Patriots, and that's kind of saying something.
It's crazy how conservative you'll get when you don't have to go on the center.
Or James White catching passes.
All right, Emily. Good evening, fellas. What are your thoughts on Randall Cobb? Ooh, I would start Randall Cobb over Michael Gallup. I don't know if I'd start him over Tyler Boyd, though. What do you guys think? Randall Cobb will be the only cat there catching passes.
And Aaron Rodgers forced the Packers to bring him back. I think he'll show them one game. He'll be like, see, this is why y'all need to listen to me more, right?
Yeah, I would be willing to honestly just take the shot in the dark.
Well,
start the boy Cobb.
I would say
over Tyler Boyd.
I'm pretty off Randall Cobb just because the Cardinals defense is pretty good. Like Brian Murphy would be on him. He's a pretty good corner. And Randall Cobb is old. So it's like even if Aaron Rodgers wants to throw into him, if he's not getting open, it's not getting open. So yeah, I would say I will hold off on Michael Gallup for another week just because he's coming back from a calf injury. He might be on limited snaps, or he might retweet that calf. So I'll watch out for that. I would say out of all those names, I would go with Tyler Boyd. just because he's on a way better offense and he's going against the Jets.
That's my main reservation with Tyler Boyd is just that team may not need to throw that much, and if they do, I mean, Jamar Chase is probably going to go off. T. Higgins is probably going to go off.
To be fair, though, y'all didn't need to throw that much on them last week, and all. So it's one of those things, right?
But our receivers didn't we didn't have multiple receivers go off though. Like we had all of our running backs go off.
Fair enough.
Talking about the Patriots. But what were you saying?
No, I wasn't saying anything.
Okay.
I think I agree with Jasani. I would go Tyler Boyd, and then I think I would go Randall Cobb and then Michael Gallup, just because I hate starting any guy that's coming off an injury, just because they might play one half, they might play 5 plays and get hurt again. I mean, I think so. He had a torn calf, correct? I believe that.
Yeah. He's been out for 5 or 6 weeks.
He got hurt week 1.
That was definitely torn.
So I assume that coming back from a tear, they have a more definitive, it's fully healed versus it's not fully healed than if it was strained or something with a hamstring. But I wouldn't trust it.
Yeah, I saw he took practice slow today, so.
Yeah,
it sounds like he was just walking
back in the game shape too. I mean, he probably. You would assume he hasn't been able to run at all since week 1, correct?
Oh yeah, no, yeah, he's definitely not gonna get full snaps.
So Ray Gamer asked this question about the defenses: 49ers defense versus Bears, Cowboys defense versus Vikings, or Chargers defense versus Patriots. My decision would be Niners. I would go Niners too.
49ers for sure. The Vikings are not a bad team at all. The only teams they've lost to this year have been
Cardinals,
Cincinnati, Cardinals, and Raiders, I think. Do they play the Raiders? I don't know. Or is it just Cardinals and Cincinnati? I don't know.
You could say that they could have won. They should have won both of those.
Regardless, yeah. Then those are games at the time you didn't think they would be top teams, but it turns out they are top teams. So I would not be willing to go against the Vikings like that. And the Patriots, you don't know which team's going to show up. So I think the 49ers versus the Bears is probably the safest for sure.
I agree. Definitely 49ers.
A tight end question. Yeah. The tight end question. Oh, Washington football team? No, we ain't talking about Washington football team as a defense.
You can probably, and you guys are free to off it, you can probably drop the Washington football team defense at this point.
Oh, yeah, I've been dropped them. For sure.
You're holding on to the worst defense in the league. You can't be holding on to the worst defense in the league like that.
Now, I will say that I think another defense that has vastly underperformed this season for the expectations given to them, the Denver defense. I thought that they were going to be a lot better than what they have been. I mean, they got carried by the fact that they played 3 of the worst teams in the NFL when they played them the first 3 weeks. Yeah. And I was like, oh, they got a lockdown secondary, Von Miller, Bradley Chubb.
Patrick Surtain was a great pick in the first.
Man. Pat's been so good. They benched Kyle Fuller already. And I'm like, dang.
I think they're looking to trade him.
Did they trade Kyle Fuller already?
They might have already. I think they did.
I
was like, if you want to get that corner, you have so many cornerbacks now.
Yeah.
All right, we got a tight end question. Mike Gesicki versus the Bills. Dalton Schultz versus the Vikings Sunday night. Knox will be out in 2 weeks.
I'm looking for Schultz, to be honest. I think the Bills have a very good defense. I think they're gonna make Tua look pretty stupid. I think Dak really likes Dalton Schultz. I saw that they run. The Cowboys run the two tight end set the most in the league. So Dalton Schultz and the other one is always out there. And I think on key third downs, Dalton Schultz is the man. And I think, especially with Michael Gallup still working his way back, he should definitely get a decent amount of targets this week. And the Vikings aren't a good defense at all. So it should be definitely a shootout.
I think I'm in line with Jasani here. I think Dalton Schultz is just the better move all around. He's been the better player this season. And I think the Cowboys offense is just way more explosive. Cowboys-Vikings game could be a shootout. It could be not that much defense being played in this game. We'll see. It's kind of hard to tell how good the defense of the Cowboys are. right now, but I agree. Dalton Schultz, I think, is a good start. Gesicki's not a bad option for a tight end, especially, but I think for this situation, you're going to want Dalton Schultz. I think for most situations, you're going to want Dalton Schultz, but
I'm going to lean towards Gesicki on this one, in all honesty. So right now he's a tight end 3, and I just think that like every time Tua drops back, the ball's probably going to Waddle or Gesicki, and so I just think that you have a way higher chance of seeing more targets go to Gesicki than Dalton Schultz does. Obviously, the Cowboys, he's tied to a better offense, so his targets would be worth more. I just think that if you're starting a tight end in a PPR league, you want to go with whoever is going to probably see the ball more. And I think that it's a lock to say that Gesicki will see the ball more than Schultz.
Yeah, it just worries me. The matchup against the Bills is just it could go very sour very quick. But regardless of how sour it gets, I agree with what your line of thinking. I don't think that will take away from Gesicki's volume. Like if they get put in a bad game script are behind, I mean that's only going to help Gesicki's role in that game. But I mean they did, like you said, they did knock Tua out last time. Last time they played, and that would be the ultimate worst case scenario.
Yeah, the worst case scenario is that Tua literally doesn't get passes off because like he's getting that heavily pressured, which is very possible, and that's something that would be one of my points for why I would understand leaning Dalton Schultz is like he probably is safer because if Tua gets knocked out and Jacoby comes in, I mean that's the end of the Miami offense just about.
I mean, it's not even like Tua gets knocked out per se. I just think, I mean, he didn't look good last time against defense even before he got knocked out, and it's like the Bills defense that like they're gonna take away Waddle with Tre'Davious. I think Tre'Davious has to be able to lock up Waddle, and then with Gesicki, they have great safeties and really good linebacker and Tremaine Edmonds. So I think it would just be hard, and it's like that's the only two people you got focused on Miami's team.
Mm-hmm.
You're not worried about the run game. You're not worried about Devontae Parker, really anybody else.
No.
So and Sean McDermott is a defensive coach.
No, I agree.
And it's a division game, so they might want to just smack up at the offense.
Yeah.
Evan has a pretty good question here. What's a wide receiver running back I could go after for Mike Williams and Chuba? I think you get top line. Top of the line.
If you're adding Chuba, you should only be able to get a wide receiver that's better than Mike Williams in my mind. And I think it's hard to equate that out to a running back. You'd have to find someone who has like a running back that is solid, but like I don't know. I'd imagine it would be really hard to package those two to get a good running back. I think.
If you have Chuba and you don't have CMC, you might be able to package those two for CMC.
Yeah, I think if you went to a team that needed to win now, not necessarily out of contention, but needs to win now, I think you could take something. I think you could take their RB1.
I imagine that no one would be willing to give up a starting running back for Chuba and Mike Williams unless they were really down bad at wide receiver. Because, I mean, you just know eventually Chuba is going to not be worth anything, right?
Yeah.
But
I mean, he might always be worth something. I wouldn't trade either of those guys unless I'm getting a wide receiver 1 or an RB1 in return. I wouldn't mind capitalizing on Mike Williams' performances so far this season. It's really hard to expect him to keep up this performance for the rest of the year, so I would not mind at all trading him and cashing in on your Mike Williams investment now and getting a wide receiver 1 back in return, one that you trust, like a Diggs or maybe would you do Mike Williams for a Calvin Ridley trade at all, or would you just much rather Mike Williams? What about Mike Williams and Chuba for like a Saquon or a DeAndre Swift? See, I think I would like if you needed a running back, I would not mind doing that trade for like a Swift or
I think
Aaron Jones
on that end,
or Aaron Jones. Yeah, like those guys that are like the back end RB1s that are basically RB1s. I think you can definitely go for it, and I don't think that you'd be making the wrong choice, even though Mike Williams has been outscoring those running backs probably every single week. I don't think you'd be making the wrong choice. Also, appreciate the sub, Ray Gamer. It's awesome. Thank you. And yes, we did go with Folk on the kicker question, by the way. You really can't guess the right kicker, but The Patriots have been very conservative, and they've been kicking a lot whenever it gets fourth down. So first round with the kicker for New England for sure.
So I would say some of the names I would be looking at, because like my mindset is that I think it'll just be very hard to package Williams and Chuba to get a running back off somebody just because that's just what I think. If you can, like you said, get Aaron Jones or DeAndre Swift, I would absolutely do that.
Same.
But I think so. What are wide receivers like? Would you do that trade for someone like Cooper Kupp?
Oh yeah, I'd so for sure.
What about?
I would do it, but I don't think anybody would trade.
I don't think Kupp is an option, unfortunately.
Yeah. What about?
I would do like a.
What about D-Hop?
Yeah, I was thinking like a D-Hop. I mean, you could argue that D-Hop's target share has gone down.
I think that Mike Williams might end up being a better fantasy viable option, just pure fantasy wise, than D-Hop.
I don't know what wide receivers. I think the only wide receivers I'd really be willing to trade Mike Williams and Chuba for would be like a Diggs, Justin Jefferson,
Jamar.
I
don't know if you could really go for Jamar like that.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
Jamar, bro. Especially with like dropping 40. You ain't getting him, bro.
I agree.
What about Deebo Samuel?
I like Deebo. I don't know if I like him better than Mike Williams and a Chuba though. You know, because like Deebo, he gets a gross amount of targets. He gets like 12 targets a game, and it's like almost like we know you're gonna throw it to Deebo every time. It's almost sad how little options they have in the passing game there in 49ers. And there's a chance that Trey Lance will be starting in the next rest of season, any week now. So it's like I don't think you want that.
Deebo goes his
exactly.
Value.
So I don't know if I would really be going for Deebo like that. I would really be looking, if I'm trading Mike Williams, I'm not really looking to upgrade at wide receiver because there's a good chance you won't be upgrading unless you're getting like a Diggs, Tyreek, or those guys that are kind of out of your range. Justin Jefferson, I think, would be a great trade target because Mike Williams has been putting up pretty solid numbers, better than JJ. I think you could go for it. Rob Gronkowski or Tyler Higbee. I'm just gonna go with Higbee because he's healthy.
Yeah. Always take a wait and see approach with injuries if you can. Yeah. I promise that. The only time you really can't do that is when it's like a running back that was like an early, like obviously when CMC comes back, I'm gonna have to start him that very first week.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? After he gets his third touch and he grabs his hamstring again, I'm going to say, wow, I should have known better.
And Higbee's a good option to pivot to for sure. He's not no slouch. So
he's not a bum. Tunyon.
Yeah, exactly. If it's Tunyon, then maybe we'll be talking about something else.
How many touchdowns do you think Kyler Murray will get tomorrow?
I mean, that offense is disgusting.
He's a lot.
3 passing touchdowns to 1 rushing touchdown.
Yeah, he's like
2 and 2
at least 3 every game almost now.
I agree. Ray Gamer's got a team. My gosh, he's got a team. Wait. That team doesn't seem real to me.
Hey, Ray, what? How big is your league?
I saw Diggs, Keenan Allen, Dalvin, and Clyde, and David Montgomery. This man must have gotten. He must have started with Dalvin his first pick. Somehow got Diggs next. Somehow got Clyde.
And he has Gesicki, Schultz, and Dawson Knox.
Yeah, I'm assuming he got Knox off like the waiver wires. I'm assuming that this guy's just running his league over here. There's no way you losing any games, Ray.
Well, I could see what David Montgomery, Clyde, and Hunt haven't played in the past
Yeah, unless he traded for them.
Yeah, Keenan Allen's been underperforming. T. Higgins has been hurt. Dalvin was hurt for a couple weeks too.
So that team at full strength though is going to be dirty.
It's unstoppable. I guess he just had some bad luck.
Yeah, no, I like that team a lot.
That is a good team.
All right, and so now we can just go into the last little buy, sell, drop, or hold segment, and then that'll be the end of the show. So the first name I want to bring up is Calvin Ridley. Everyone was thinking he was going to be a bona fide.
I was one of them.
Wow, yeah, I I thought Calvin might finish as the wide receiver 1 in fantasy this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Last year, there was no reason for you not to think that.
I saw him during as soon as Julio got traded, almost all early metrics had Calvin Ridley being like the leading receiver. Like he was projected to lead the NFL in receiving yardage by a lot of outlets, right? So what happened?
Cordero
happened, man. Cordero
you can honestly say he plays third fiddle on this offense. At least last week, it was Pitts was clearly where the ball was being thrown to whenever it. I mean, Calvin Ridley still saw like 11 targets last week, so he still had like a huge target share, but he only had like 4 or 5 catches, so not the best. Well, Pitts, on the other hand, was seeing just as many targets and, actually catching them. And then you have Cordero Patterson, who's the offense kind of is centered around. So I don't know what to do with Calvin Ridley as long as in terms of rest of season. I think I'm not too excited about Calvin Ridley. I think you should trade him if you can. I think his name is a little bit bigger than his production right now, and there's not a very clear pathway for his production to just kind of surge upward, right? But
yeah, 100% agree. I'll definitely be selling him if I can. He's like a wide receiver 40 right now, and he's had a good matchup. So it's not necessarily a matchup problem. But I just think, like what Brandon said, he's kind of fallen to the third option in this offense behind Cordero and Pitts somehow. I mean, the Falcons, and Matt Ryan has been doing really well these past 4 or 5 weeks, So it's not like the quarterback play has been bad either. I just don't really know what's up with Calvin Ridley. Like I said, I was a big fan of Calvin Ridley before the season too. I thought he was going to take over the Julio role seamlessly. For some reason, it has to come to fruition. So yeah, I'll definitely be on the sell or buy for the low.
Yeah, it feels like the last couple seasons, it felt like Calvin was the Falcons' deep threat and like red zone target, and it feels like he's now kind of moved into like the short, when Matt Ryan drops back to look to throw deep, it's going to Kyle Pitts or Olamide Zaccheaus.
Those are the 4th down plays. The 4th down.
It's just like, man, it's like Kyle Pitts is 6'6", probably runs just as fast as Ridley. So it's kind of hard not to throw it to him.
And then even now, we see teams are going to start putting their best corners on Kyle Pitts, and you're just like that. You hope that opens things up for Ridley even more. Ridley, I think you could. I'm torn between saying I would try to sell him and saying that I would be buying, because I feel like at some point it's got to come together for him, right? I mean, I had the same stance on A.J. Brown. He was looking like one of the biggest fantasy disappointments of the season. I traded for him for what I felt like was the low, and I feel like the past 2 weeks he's immediately started to have a return on investment. And I feel like Ridley has to eventually put it together, right?
Yeah. I think I would be buying low and selling high. I mean, obviously it's what everyone wants to do, but I wouldn't mind taking a ransom for Calvin Ridley and just sell him on his name. And I wouldn't mind, I don't know, who would you be willing to trade for Calvin Ridley?
Amari.
Would you
Amari?
Yeah.
Amari Cooper.
I mean, I would do that in a heartbeat too, but
like the numbers say you shouldn't, but like Keenan Allen. I would trade Keenan Allen for him.
Yeah.
But those are 2 guys that haven't been doing that good. So like you're really convincing this Calvin Ridley guy to sell his big name guy for your big name guy that's doing worse. It'd be kind of a hard sell. like who's someone that's doing good that you'd be willing to be like clearly not Mike Williams. We already went over that. No Jamar Chase.
Maybe did.
No JJ. Would you do AJ Brown for Calvin Ridley straight up? 1 for 1.
No. I'd hold AJ.
Really?
Yeah.
I would put those 2 guys kind of in the same realm.
Yeah.
Other than the fact that AJ is like
on my favorite team
ahead of them.
I just got them. But I put them both on the same tier. I fully expect Calvin Ridley at some point in time to get back on track. If you can trade
It's
him,
just hard to see. It's hard to see it when it hasn't happened yet.
yeah, I fully.
And the games we've seen of the Falcons just look so meh sometimes. So
all right, so first thing I want to say is, y'all see what Ray Gamer said he's doing to his league?
yeah,
He's finessing this whole league.
Yeah, that's a lot of trades, man. He's a trading phenom, man.
Bro, but like he traded a bunch of studs, but he got a bunch of studs back.
He got
Diggs, Nick Chubb, and Kyler, which was worth the trade already. Yeah.
Especially like Metcalf, Russ got hurt. The Chiefs
Hunt got hurt.
Like,
and Justin Herbert's been worse than Kyler. So every way he's won that trade, and then he got Hunt back for free.
And he got rid of Damien Williams. That was the best move of all, man.
Bro, if I was in that league and I saw this other dude make this trade with Ray, I'd be like, what's going on here?
Mabone said, just traded away A.J. Brown, Joe Mixon, and Michael Thomas for Dalvin Cook and Keenan Allen. Did I?
You won, I think.
Do you have Alexander Madison?
You got to get him. I personally...
I'm going to lean towards the A.J. Brown, Joe Mixon, and Michael Thomas side. I'm not going to lie. I'm sorry, man.
I'm not. I'm on... I think Dalvin... I think Dalvin is worth Joe Mixon. Like, you wouldn't do Joe Mixon and Michael Thomas for Dalvin, would you?
No.
That sounds like a ridiculous.
You'd probably do Joe Mixon and AJ Brown for Dalvin, though, right?
I would definitely say.
But would you do Michael Thomas for Keenan Allen? That's what I was saying. I'm thinking he won this trade massively because it's like.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't even know how to.
I wouldn't say massively, but I definitely think the Dalvin Cook and Keenan Allen, he definitely won it. I would definitely say Michael Thomas is the one player that could easily swing this trade from good or bad. Because Michael Thomas is even like remotely good, then yeah, you got hard body.
I could see Michael Thomas being better than Keenan and AJ Brown out of that trade at the end, right? But I could understand depending on how your team looks. It's really hard to answer these types of questions without knowing like how your team is constructed.
I mean,
like, he was.
Even just looking, I mean, Dalvin Cook in theory should outscore Joe Mixon and AJ Brown. So now you look at Michael Thomas and Keenan
versus Keenan,
and
I'd take Keenan.
I would take Keenan as of right now, and I would take Keenan right now, and I would say at the very worst is probably a wash. Like it might just end up being the exact same.
My thing is Michael Thomas right now. We really don't know when he's coming back, right?
Yeah,
we just don't, and we don't know if it's going to be at the point of the season where this Saints team is just in the dumps, and like, what's the point of even returning Michael Thomas at this point?
And they still hate each other.
Yeah, and he's going to have Jameis Winston throwing into him for the rest of the year. So it's like, off that right now, I think Michael Thomas is like most valued right now as a mystery box option. So I personally I'll take the out on Michael Thomas. I would unload him if I can. And if unloading Michael Thomas and two other starters means you could get Dalvin and Keenan, I would take that all day.
Yeah, and it's just like AJ Brown is on a run first team. Joe Mixon's on a pass first team. And like Dalvin, like Dolphins runs through Dalvin. And like Keenan Allen, is either Keenan or Michael Thomas. I mean, not Michael, or Mike Williams every week. There's really no other person.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. I mean, I would link to that. I mean, I would definitely say right now that's the trade, but down the season, depending on Michael Thomas do, I can see you losing.
I guess Michael Thomas is the X factor here.
Yeah, if you're in win now mode, then I would definitely say, yeah, that's the move to make.
Yeah, I think it depends. I just think AJ Brown will probably. It depends. Like, I think Keenan has been pretty, just like very average.
Yeah,
that's my only thing. So it's like you thinking Keenan will probably improve, which I think is a fair bet to make. I just like it's one of those that like I agree with getting Dalvin Cook, like locking up in one of those top RB1s, right? I don't know. Like I said, it probably depends on like who your other wide receivers are. Because like in my league, I have Michael Thomas. In one of my leagues, I have Michael Thomas. I literally cannot trade him because my starting 2 wide receivers are Mike Evans and Jalen Waddle. I have to put on to Mike Thomas in that regard. So it's just one of those things. But like, yeah, I would definitely say if you can move AJ Brown and Joe Mixon for Dalvin Cook, yeah, I would pull the trigger on that in a heartbeat. And so, yeah, I understand where you guys are coming from. And so you said Calvin Ridley or AJ Brown. Hey man, I'm an AJ Brown boy. That's all I got to say.
I'll say AJ Brown. Even though I'm a Falcons fan, but I'm turning to more of a Pitts fan than Calvin. So
that's tough.
So if you had Calvin Ridley and someone offered you AJ Brown for Calvin Ridley straight up, you'd smash the accept button?
Yeah, just because AJ Brown is the wide receiver 1 of that team, and Calvin Ridley arguably is the wide receiver 3.
Yeah, but the Titans
is the wide receiver 2 now.
But even though like he's not the main guy on the Falcons, they're still throwing it like probably twice as much as the Titans are.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing, right? That's always what AJ's thing was, is that he never saw many targets, but he still almost always returned like high-end wide receiver 2 value.
Yeah,
I was thinking this year that there was going to be an uptick in the passing game. I didn't think that Derek was going to start off having the best start of his career. Because, Derek usually always starts off the seasons kind of slow.
He's the Yeti. He gets better as the weather gets colder.
Get into a Yeti.
I was thinking that this year the Titans passing game was going to go crazy. It really hasn't. I thought Julio was going to be a lot better.
Yeah.
I think that AJ has established that he is clearly the alpha wide receiver 1. And whenever Tannehill drops back now, it looks like he that's who he wants to go to,
There's a reason why he kept Julio's number.
Yeah, I'm so glad Falcons got rid of Julio. He's now y'all's problem. Have fun paying that man.
I'm paying that man to not practice, show up, catch 3 balls, and hold his hammy and go home for his top.
Liking it. Okay, and so then the next name I want to bring up, Antonio Gibson. I think we're probably all in agreement on sell.
Sell.
Okay.
I don't know who you can find at this point. It's got to be someone that's not really watching football or paying attention, because he has not been very good recently. And yeah, I would think
it would just be hard because in the back of your mind, you're like, man, I spent like a top 4, like a 4th round pick on this or 3rd round pick on this dude. Now I'm about to trade him for like a bomb.
Yeah, but at this point, you really can't be thinking about that, especially in redraft, because like you're getting dragged down if you have to keep trying this guy out. Where you could possibly like, what is another RB2 that you think you could get Gibby, or would you go for a hurt guy? Would you be trying to get like a
David Montgomery?
Yeah,
I would package Gibby and like a wide receiver and try to get like
Leonard Fournette. That's not bad.
I think that would be a very solid move.
Because I don't think you could really package up Gibby and get like an Aaron Jones at all.
But Leonard's still outside the top 10, barely. But I mean, he's creeping up there. So
yeah, that's not a bad call. What about a Damien?
Yeah, I would trade Gibby for a Damien too.
Yeah,
would you trade Damien for a Gibby?
I wouldn't. I feel like I wouldn't add anyone with Gibby to get Damien unless I was really down bad for running backs.
Yeah. Like if I would want Damien though, I think.
Yeah, I would rather have Damien, but I wouldn't want to give anyone with Gibby. But maybe that would bite me in the butt when Gibby in.
Trading Elijah Mitchell and Jacoby for T. Higgins. What do y'all think?
I think that's a big bet.
Yeah. I'll take T. I mean, Jacoby's okay. Elijah Mitchell's
I like him.
He's their guy.
I like Elijah Mitchell. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like Jacoby and T have probably put up fairly similar numbers. Probably, right? Probably.
Jacoby's kind of like a lock for like 10 to 15. 15's like his ceiling. 10 is like kind of what he gives you.
Yeah, I would definitely say T has way better ceiling. And like I said last week, he had 15 targets. Like he's gonna get his numbers.
Yeah, I think I like the Elijah Mitchell part. I think that you can almost never have too many like starting quality running backs.
Mhm.
I mean, Elijah Mitchell pretty much had 100 and something yards and a touchdown in the first half before Kyle Shanahan got cute like he always does. Stop giving him the ball. And so then Tajikarp said, trading Schultz and Bills D for Julio Jones. I have Waller, Tunyon, Tyreek, Emmanuel Sanders, Jacoby Myers, Rashad Bateman, Will Fuller, Damian Harris, Mike Davis, Gaskins, and Fournette. We'll have to pick up Rams D and Bears D. If you can get the Rams defense,
Yeah.
I mean, but I don't know if you're really getting anything trading for Julio, but I also understand that you're trading a defense in like
A tight end.
Tight away has Waller and Tony.
Yeah.
He has Tyreek, Emmanuel Sanders.
I feel like he's not losing anything.
He's not losing anything, but I don't think he's getting anything either. Like
I don't know if Julio's. I mean, he'd be
really start Julio
over Sanders. It'd only have to be. Julio only has to be better than Sanders, Myers, Bateman, or Fuller, which I think he could easily.
I don't think he'd be better than Emmanuel Sanders, man. Emmanuel Sanders has been pretty well.
I mean, but Sanders is doing really well in like 4 catches a game type well. Like he'll have 3 catches for 105 yards.
I think we're becoming princes of just a name value, just a name Julio, not necessarily what his production is. Like all those guys are outproducing Julio by a good amount.
I'm not saying that Sanders isn't a better option. I'm just saying that I wouldn't be locking in Sanders over Julio every single week. I think there'd definitely be weeks where you'd be probably more willing to start Julio over Sanders, Myers, and Bateman. I would be willing to make that trade.
That would literally be last week. Like the Chiefs' defense is awful, and he still didn't do anything. Like
yeah, that's fair.
And Emmanuel Sanders has done well every week, whoever he played against. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure.
I still think he could use more depth at wide receiver. I mean, if he could get another wide receiver other than Julio, he probably can. I mean, Dalton Schultz is a pretty good tight end. And people need tight end.
Julio should be better at some point. I think that was one of those like weird games because I mean, literally, the Titans scored all our points in the first half, and then we completely just stopped playing offense for the rest of the game, just about. Mm-hmm. But I guess that's a good trade for depth. I feel like, yeah, I get what you're saying. You don't like that he's getting Julio, but I feel like it's worth what he's giving up to get him.
I think so.
He's giving because I'm sure too. Whoever drafted Julio probably was expecting a lot more from him, and so like,
there's a good chance Schultz and Bills D were on the waivers at one point.
Yeah, I think that's a great return on investment.
And like Sanders has been good this year, but I just can't.
He's been good at the cost of Diggs, and I think that they should balance out in one way or another as the season.
And I don't know if I'd be willing to lock in that he's just a better option than Julio every week. But I see what you're saying. At like last week was an option for Julio to would be a time where you would start Julio over Sanders, and it would have bit you in the butt. So I don't know. I think for the depth though, I'll take Julio or try and find another receiver. I like where your head's at with trading Schultz and Bills D for an upgrade at receiver though. I think you're on the right track. If you don't do that trade.
Okay. And then the next name I want to bring up in the buy, sell, drop, or hold is Chase Claypool. How do you guys feel about him? I think Deontay's clearly established himself as wide receiver 1 on that team, right? And
I would just hold on just because Deontay seems like he gets hurt almost every single year.
Every single game.
Yeah, and Chase Claypool gets hurt all the time. Also, I mean, it's just like they both will be hindered by the quarterback, and like Najee's there who takes up targets like that. I don't think he necessarily going to gain much by training him, and definitely don't drop him. So I would just hang on to him. I wouldn't trade for him either.
I wouldn't trade for him.
And so we'll answer these 2 questions real quick too, and then we'll move on to the last name on the list. Actually. Okay, yeah, no. And so does Mark Ingram to the Saints help or hurt him? I figured he'll be the goal line back. I think it hurts him. I think he goes there and he probably falls to the number 3 back. I think they really like that Tony Jones guy. And I can't imagine him eating into Kamara's workload.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can't imagine because Houston, he kind of randomly some games would be the running back 1 there and see like 15 attempts. I don't think that'll ever happen again for the Saints. He might have more scoring opportunities sometimes, but you're really not going to be wanting to start him this week because he might get 3 carries, 4 carries, and he might score. He might not. I don't know. I think it hurts him as well. I don't think Mark Ingram is really a guy you want to be looking at after this. Even like before this trade, when he was more of a focal point of the offense, I don't think you want to be looking at him. And then now back on his old team, I don't think he'll be really a focal point of this offense at all. I mean, he's a good locker room presence. He hypes everybody up. But fantasy-wise, I think he should be looking somewhere else, Mr. Clap Nuts.
I like that name, Clap Nuts. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't even see that.
And Evan,
I would completely agree. Ingram's not that dude since he left Baltimore. Really, I definitely think he was in a better situation on Texans just because they're so bloated at running back talent. They probably got majority of carries. But now he's going to a team with 2 better running backs, and he's only getting older and worse. I think they just got him. Actually, I really don't know why they got him, I'll be honest. But,
he must be really nice to have the locker room.
They needed him to boost Alvin, bro. They just wanted him to get his identity. And then the next question from Evan: would you trade Mike Williams for Justin Jefferson? I'm saying yes.
Yeah. I would take him.
I feel like we said this.
We did a little bit earlier. But I think if you can capitalize on Mike Williams' previous numbers, you should, because it's going to be hard for him to keep up these ridiculous numbers he's been putting up. And if you capitalize now and get a haul like Justin Jefferson, then you don't care what Mike Williams does rest of the season. Whereas Justin Jefferson could be getting better as the season goes on. He could be becoming more and more of the focal point of this offense. I would be willing to go that route. And he doesn't have a necessarily bad injury history like Mike Williams does. So you don't know that ticking time bomb's going to go off on Mike Williams' hammies or shoulders or back or whatever. So you might as well cash in right now. It's hard to get his value any higher than it is now, you know?
Yeah, I would just say I would just say Justin Jefferson just has a way higher floor. He's super consistent. He's definitely one of Kirk's favorite target, if not his favorite target, wide receiver one. Yeah. If they're not running it, they're throwing it to him. So I definitely think he's one of the better wide receivers. And Mike Williams is just like, I mean, you could argue his ceiling's higher just because he has such
shown
potential. Yeah, just because it's such boom potential. But I think he's going to regress back to the mean soon.
He's been catching like 2 touchdowns a game, 4 or 5 games this year. Like he can't.
And how many of those touchdowns was he just completely wide open on?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. Against the Browns, man, there wasn't like anybody like 40 yards. I don't even know how that's possible.
All right, and so the last name that I have on the buy sell drop or hold, and this is a name that has come up multiple times on the show now, Julio Jones.
I'm telling you, man, I'm so off Julio, man. I'm so off Julio. I just don't think he's that dude anymore, man. I mean, I think the Falcons saw it. I think they saw him every day at practice. Like, yo, this dude's regressing hard. He's hurt all the time now.
He wasn't practicing.
Yeah, now he's not practicing anymore. He's only getting older. Now he doesn't have the connection. I think the only thing will save him in the Falcons is his superb connection with Matt Ryan. But now he has a whole new quarterback, whole new system. And I just don't think Julio is going to flourish in this system like he did Atlanta. Like Atlanta did pass a lot more. Titans are definitely run first team. And when they do pass, they're looking at A.J. Brown, which is like, Julio's that dude. Like, he should, but I think Julio's living more off of his name than his ability and projection at this point in his career.
So keep trade cut. You trading him? Keeping him?
Oh, yeah. I mean, if I could trade him, yeah. I mean,
would you be?
You want to drop?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we'll take out cut. But would you be willing to trade him for kind of like nickels on the dollar type thing? Like,
yeah,
would you be able to?
What Tag did, yeah. I mean, if I trade him for a tight end that don't really have much use for it in defense, yeah, why not? Like, just have depth at that position.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but like what his trade did, that's pretty much the highest I would really go, honestly. Like, I wouldn't trade a starter for Julio at all. Doesn't matter who the starter is.
Yeah. Would you? Yeah, you're probably right there. I'm on the same train. I'm not really excited. I wouldn't be too excited to be receiving Julio. I mean, if I could get him for 2 players that I don't need, then fine. But if I had him, I would be looking to. I'd be looking to shop him probably. I'd probably be looking to shop him. Unfortunately, I don't know what you could really get for him. So
something like that.
If you really need a tight end,
yeah.
getting Schultz and a Bills D, that's not great for Julio, but that's okay.
But if that's will fill the hole that fills your need, you're like, all right, forget it. Like, I mean, I just think at this point you're trending his name only, not based on what he's done. You trend on his name and his potential. Like, yo, he's still Julio Jones. If they could just figure it out, like, the offense is ridiculous. But
yeah, that's my thing. I feel like I personally would probably say I think given with where Julio is, he looks more like probably like a buy low to me because you can buy him for probably pretty low right now. I think like you said, right? If you were like what Tag was able to get him for, like I would be so very willing to give that up to get Julio, right? Yeah. And I can't imagine that if you were trying to sell him, I don't know.
Willing to take that?
No, if I was trying to sell him, I would take that. And I would also trade that for him if I was trying to get him, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I feel like he is in more of a buy low position than he is in a sell position, you know?
Yeah.
But I don't know. I feel like it's hard for me to believe that Julio Jones just became washed up out of nowhere. Because even last year when he played, he was still good. Now, obviously, I want Julio to be good because I'm a Titans fan. But at the same time, I don't think he's the Titans wide receiver 1. And I also do think that the Titans passing game this season hasn't had really any spectacular performances. I mean, I can't think of any week where you started Ryan Tannehill and you were like pleasantly surprised with the way that he played either. And
he's been pretty bad this year, hasn't he?
Yeah, he hasn't been.
This last week has been pretty good.
Yeah, and even then, I mean, he had 1 passing touchdown, 1 interception. I mean, the Titans play very conservative every game. I mean, we see in a game against the Bills where they have to compete to score, right? And they have to get into the 30s. They still do that by running the ball. And so I would like to see how Julio plays. I mean, even against the game against Seattle, he had a very solid game. But I would like to see how the Titans passing game looks in a game where they really have to like throw the ball consistently because they really haven't. If they're losing, they're going to run their way back into it. If they're winning, they're going to just take Derek out of the game and then run the ball. So it's just like, I don't know. I think Julio should eventually be better, but I could be wrong, and Julio could just be butt. I really hope not. But hey.
All right, we got another comment. We could probably just answer this one and then probably call it a show.
Yeah, he said trade Henderson, Monty, Judy, and Julio for CMC and Brandon Cooks. 8-man PPR.
Why not? Let's do it.
Yeah, right.
Let's get you a CMC, man.
I'll for sure do that.
Yeah.
Julio's nothing. Judy's hurt. Monty's hurt. Henderson.
He's pretty good.
He's all right. But I mean, none of it has the potential of CMC and Brandon Cooks. I mean, you assume Tyrod's coming back eventually, right? He's not gone for the season.
I would
be practicing this week.
Yeah, I would do that trade.
I would trade. Yeah, as long as you're getting the CMC in this trade. Give me that trade all day. You're losing Henderson, which is kind of the real big hit to your team, but you're gonna if CMC's back in a week or so, you won that trade 100 times.
Yeah. You're definitely losing running back depth, but you're banking on the upside of CMC, which I mean, for what you have, yes, and you're not even trading like top wide receivers.
Mm-hmm. No,
or necessarily top running backs either. So for CMC being the number 1 overall pick,
yeah, I traded for CMC and I had to give up way more than that. So I would say
did.
You can give that up to get CMC. Hey, I would want that. Hey man, shut up.
Too bad all the players you gave me are fucking hurt now.
That's just how it goes. I got the player I traded for.
Blood for blood.
Well, all right, y'all. Thanks for tuning into the broadcast.
Yes, thank you for everyone for commenting.
We love the fan engagement.
Yes.
part of
Thank
this.
you for calling in. Please
Part of the best
follow
part.
all of us on the social medias on Just Good Network and the Fantasy Squad podcast. You
Mhm.
look it up on Instagram or we have a website that's coming out. You'll see us on there, and all of our social media tags will be in the bio.
Yeah, and
So
if you want to
please
see
give-
more of us,
Yeah.
just tune in Wednesdays at 8. So we're pretty consistent. Trying to get as close to 8 as we can. So Wednesdays at 8, tune in, and we'll be here talking and ready to answer your questions.
All right. We'll see y'all next week. Y'all have a good one.
Cool.
Thank you.